Most kids remember their first bike. Maybe the scraped knees, the wobbly pedals, the sheer thrill of freedom. But for old money heirs, the memory that often sticks out isn't about two wheels and a helmet. It's about their first ledger. Think about it. While the rest of us were passionately trading Pokemon cards, meticulously organizing our sticker collections, or debating the merits of various cartoon characters, these kids were likely at the dinner table, casually trading municipal bond anecdotes. Yes, really. Today, we're pulling back the velvet curtains and diving deep into the hidden choreography that doesn't just raise a child, but systematically turns a spirited toddler into a shrewd, responsible trustee. We're not talking about gold-plated high chairs or the kind of trust fund memes you see online. This isn't about ostentatious displays of wealth. Instead, it's about the quiet, often unglamorous daily rituals that act like an invisible scaffolding, keeping fortunes not just afloat, but actively alive and thriving for 2, 3, sometimes even 4 centuries. It's about a mindset, a way of being, instilled from the earliest age. So stick around. By the end of this, you'll start to understand why a 9-year-old, perhaps clutching a book with a monogrammed bookmark, might already be richer, not in dollars, but in discipline, foresight, and mindset than most adults struggling to balance their checkbooks. These aren't just quaint traditions. They're the bedrock of enduring wealth. Picture the average playground on a sunny afternoon. It's a symphony of chaos, isn't it? Juice boxes are spilling, knees are getting scraped, and the air is filled with the joyful, uninhibited screams of childhood. Now let's swap that vibrant, boisterous scene for something entirely different. Imagine swapping the colorful jungle gym for a dimly lit, paneled library, the air thick with the scent of old paper and polished wood. The time? 7 o'clock in the morning. Instead of a sticky juice box, there's a crystal glass of water resting precisely on a silver coaster. And that cacophony of children's shouts? It's replaced by an absolute, profound silence. The only sound you might hear is the soft, rhythmic turning of pages. That 30-minute hush isn't just a quiet moment, it's the very first ritual. It is non-negotiable. It starts as early as age 4, and it's less a suggestion and more of a gateway drug to generational discipline. It teaches something fundamental: stillness, focus, and the immense value of internal quiet. If you've ever wondered why some families, despite market crashes, devastating lawsuits, or scandalous headlines, seem to weather every storm and never truly lose their footing, start by looking at that half hour of mandated quiet reading. That seemingly simple act, everything else, the money, the sprawling land, the political influence, the family legacy, it all flows from that profound, silent beginning. It's the root system of their enduring power. Every old money household I've ever had the opportunity to study, every family that has genuinely managed to hold on to and grow their wealth across generations, enforces a daily reading block. And I mean enforces. This isn't a suggestion, it's a sacred pact. We're talking about a physical book, no glowing screens in sight, and definitely no background music to distract. Just the child, the book, and the quiet. It's a solid 30 minutes, often timed not by a phone, but by a simple, old-fashioned mechanical clock. Why? Because the goal here isn't speed reading. It's not about ticking off a quota of pages. The true objective is absorption, pure and uninterrupted, and cultivating an inner stillness. Kids learn, very early on, that attention isn't just a fleeting mental state. It's a tangible commodity, far more valuable, they're taught, than even something as hyped as Bitcoin. It's the foundation of true focus, a skill that will serve them in every aspect of their lives, from boardroom negotiations to personal reflection. By age 10, it's not uncommon for these children to have finished weighty tomes like Churchill's Marlborough, His Life and Times. And no, it's not because they're all born geniuses with innate intellectual superpowers. It's simply because they were never given the option to be bored, to drift into mindless entertainment. Boredom in these households is seen as an opportunity, a fertile ground for intellectual curiosity to blossom. Parents meticulously rotate the shelves quarterly, ensuring a diverse yet rigorous curriculum. You'll find biographies of historical figures, deep dives into geography, challenging works of political thought, and perhaps one carefully chosen classic novel. But you won't find fantasy novels. No graphic novels, no escapist fiction. The subtle yet powerful message here is clear. Reality, in all its complex glory, is already magical enough if you can just sit still, focus your mind, and read it closely enough to truly understand it.
And what happens if you fail this ritual? Well, the consequences are real. You might lose privileges. Sometimes it's that coveted weekend trip with friends. Other times it's the family pony ride or access to a beloved activity. But the real punishment, the one that truly stings, is internal. You don't just miss out on a treat, you break the invisible chain of family composure, that unspoken expectation of discipline and focus. And everyone, including yourself, knows it. It's a powerful lesson in accountability and self-mastery. The journey into financial literacy for old money children often begins around age 6, not with a lecture on compound interest, but with 3 simple, clear glass jars. Each one is labeled Give, Save, and Spend. This tactile visual system immediately introduces the core principles of financial allocation. By the time they hit 8 years old, those glass jars evolve into something more formal, more serious, a marbled composition book. This is their personal ledger, and it becomes a crucial part of their routine. Every quarter, without fail, the child must present this ledger to a parent or a designated family mentor. It's a meticulous accounting, pennies in, pennies out, every single transaction rigorously categorized. This isn't the casual glance, it's an inspection. Any mistakes, any discrepancies, any fuzzy math, they're circled in stark red ink by the grown-ups, precisely as a stern banker would do. This isn't about shaming, it's about precision and accountability, teaching them that every penny counts and every transaction must be justifiable. And here's a fascinating twist. Interest is paid by the parents, not at some arbitrary rate, but at the actual market rate. Imagine that. A child feels the tangible power of compound interest in their bones, not as an abstract concept, but as real money growing in their ledger, long before they even hit double digits. I once heard an heir recount how he bought his very first municipal bond at the tender age of 12. Why? Because his meticulously kept ledger, scrutinized and approved, clearly proved he had excess cash available for investment. Nobody in his family handed him the keys to a Ferrari or a flashy new gadget. Instead, they handed him a calculator, a financial newspaper, and the opportunity to invest. The genius of this ritual is profound. Money is never treated as taboo, never embarrassing, never vulgar. It's demystified. It's not something whispered about or hidden away. Instead, it's presented as a tool, a resource, a subject for diligent study. In essence, money becomes homework. It's a skill to be mastered, a responsibility to be managed, and a powerful force to be understood from the ground up. In these families, gratitude isn't just a polite afterthought. It's an engineered process, a finely tuned assembly line that kicks into gear the moment a gift is received. Within 24 hours, no excuses, no delays, the child is expected to sit down and write a thank you note. And this applies to any gift, whether it's a simple piece of candy, a thoughtful book, or a pair of engraved cufflinks. But here's where it gets interesting. Templates are absolutely banned. You won't find pre-written phrases or generic sentiments. Each note must contain one specific, undeniable detail that proves the gift was not only opened, but genuinely considered and truly valued. Perhaps it's a comment on a particular passage in the book, or the specific flavor of the candy, or the intricate design on the cufflinks. This forces genuine engagement and thoughtfulness. And to ensure compliance and quality control, mothers often keep carbon copies of every note. Yes, carbon copies. Then in Christmas, in what might sound like a rather crushing ritual, the entire stack of notes from the year is reviewed. And guess what? The weakest note, the one that lacked sincerity or specificity, is often read aloud to the family. Crushing? Absolutely. But effective? Unquestionably. By the time they reach 15, these kids aren't just writing thank you notes. They can draft a condolence letter so perfectly worded, so genuinely empathetic, that it could move an ambassador to tears. And that, precisely, is the point. Gratitude, in this context, isn't just fluffy etiquette. It's social insurance. It's a strategic investment in relationships. A well-worded note, a sincere expression of appreciation can unlock doors, a crucial board seat, a vital first job opportunity, even forgiveness on a challenging margin call down the line. Old money understands a fundamental truth. Relationships decay faster than money if you neglect their maintenance. These notes are the oil that keeps the intricate machinery of their social and professional networks running smoothly.
Once a season, these children aren't just given a chore. They're given a profound responsibility. They're assigned stewardship of one specific family possession. This isn't just any old object. It could be a brass telescope that once sailed the high seas, a first edition Audubon plant depicting a magnificent bird, or even a World War I compass that guided an ancestor through treacherous terrain. Their task? To research its history, to understand its significance, to meticulously polish it until it gleams, and then, at Sunday lunch, to present a concise 2-minute talk about it to the assembled family. It's a moment of performance, yes, but more importantly, it's a lesson in reverence and connection. And what if there's damage? If, through carelessness, the heirloom is harmed, the consequence is immediate and clear. They forfeit their next birthday outing, a significant social event. But if they succeed, if they handle it with care and present it with understanding, they earn the right to sign their name in a special logbook right next to ancestors who performed the very same ritual, perhaps back in 1937 or even earlier. It's a tangible link across generations, a feeling of belonging to a much larger ongoing story. The object itself, whether it's a priceless antique or a sentimental trinket, is never truly the point. The real lesson, the enduring value, lies in the act of stewardship. It's about understanding that you are, even at 9 years old, a temporary renter on this earth, responsible for preserving what has been entrusted to you for future generations. This is how these families, subtly yet powerfully, teach the concept of depreciation schedules, of long-term value versus short-term gratification, without ever needing to utter the dry academic terms. Kids who can articulate the replacement value of a delicate 1915 sterling tea set, who understand the care required for a fragile porcelain figurine, simply don't grow up to impulsively blow $50,000 on a reckless Vegas weekend. They understand the true cost of things, both monetary and historical. For old money families, philanthropy isn't a fleeting photo op, a splashy event designed for public relations. It's a fundamental obligation, a deeply ingrained line item in their financial and moral ledgers. From a young age, each child is taught that 10% of any money they receive, whether it's their allowance, birthday cash from a distant aunt, or even earnings from dog walking gigs, must be allocated to a charitable cause. But here's the crucial twist, the element that elevates this beyond simple giving. They must present a one-page brief explaining the charity's impact metrics. This isn't about picking a cause because it sounds good or because their friends are involved. It requires genuine research and critical thinking.
They have to articulate how their donation will actually make a difference, what tangible results it will achieve. If the charity can't clearly prove its results, if the data is fuzzy or the impact unclear, the child isn't allowed to donate there. They must pick another and another until they find an organization that demonstrates genuine effectiveness. By 14, it's not uncommon to find these young philanthropists visiting grant recipients, clipboards in hand, asking surprisingly awkward yet insightful questions about overhead ratios, administrative costs, and the true efficacy of programs. The family mantra rings clear. Generosity without data is just guilt with balloons. It's a powerful lesson in strategic giving, ensuring that their wealth, even in its smallest increments, is deployed with purpose and measurable impact. This ritual is a potent antidote to entitlement, constantly reinforcing the idea that wealth is a tool, a powerful instrument for positive change, not merely a trophy to be admired or an excuse for idleness. It teaches them that true contribution requires both heart and intellect. While elite boarding schools like Eton and Exeter often get all the press for their rigorous social training, the real foundational work actually begins much earlier, right at home, typically every Tuesday dinner. This isn't just a meal, it's a drill, a performance, a classroom for social mastery. Every detail is scrutinized, fork tines down, elbows firmly off the table, bread broken delicately, never cut with a knife. These aren't just arbitrary rules, they're micro-lessons in self-control and respect. But the training extends beyond mere table manners. Conversation topics are meticulously pre-circulated, sometimes even days in advance. Each child knows they'll be expected to contribute, perhaps 1 minute on today's global news, a concise 30-second summarizing a recent book they've read, and precisely 0 seconds dedicated to anything as frivolous as TikTok.
The consequences for breaking these unwritten yet strictly enforced rules are swift and unwavering. Interrupt once, and you're politely, but firmly, excused from dessert. Interrupt twice, and you'll find yourself eating alone in the kitchen, perhaps with the staff. A stark lesson in social exclusion. Interrupt a third time, and you forfeit an upcoming holiday, a significant family event. Sounds draconian, doesn't it? Almost medieval. But then you realize that these are the very same dining tables where, years later, future senators will subtly lobby for campaign donations, where CEOs will forge crucial partnerships, and where diplomats will navigate complex international relations. Grace under pressure isn't an innate talent. It's a muscle memory, painstakingly built through countless repetitions. And like any muscle, it needs consistent, rigorous reps to become second nature. These dining drills are precisely that, the crucible where social finesse is forged. Around the age of 11, these children aren't sent off to summer camp to make friendship bracelets. Instead, they embark on a shadow day, a unique and profoundly educational experience. They are assigned to shadow a family employee, not in a glamorous office, but on the ground, where the real work happens. This could be the vineyard foreman, overseeing acres of grapes, the foundation CFO meticulously managing endowments, or the shipyard engineer troubleshooting complex marine engines. For the entire day, the child is expected to be an observer, a silent apprentice. They carry the tools, they fetch coffee, they stay quiet unless directly spoken to, learning the invaluable lesson of humility and observation. Lunch isn't a fancy affair with the bosses. It's eaten with the crew, sharing stories and experiences with the people who are the backbone of the family enterprise. The goal here is simple yet profound, to see firsthand how the empire truly breathes on the ground. It's about understanding the practicalities, the grit, the daily labor that sustains their inherited world. I recall a story of one heir who, during his shadow day, spent a sweltering July wiring boat docks in the humid Newport summer. Today,
That same individual runs the family's marine division, sporting a perpetual suntan and an MBA. No glossy internship brochure, no theoretical business school case study can ever match the visceral, unforgettable lesson of untangling kelp from a propeller at low tide, covered in grease and sweat. It teaches a fundamental truth that often eludes those born into privilege. Respect isn't inherited, it's earned. And more often than not, it's earned when calluses start to form on your hands, connecting you directly to the labor that underpins your world. Once a month, the dinner table transforms into a different kind of classroom. A non-family adult is invited, someone truly exceptional, perhaps a renowned historian, a celebrated composer, or a former ambassador with decades of diplomatic experience. This isn't a casual social call. It's a deliberate, structured mentorship session. The mentor and the child will have both read the same book or studied the same complex topic in advance. Over dinner, the mentor doesn't just chat, they interrogate the child, challenging their understanding, pushing them to think critically. The child is expected to defend a viewpoint, articulate their thoughts, and engage in a rigorous intellectual debate for a solid 5 minutes. Crucially, there's no parental rescue. The child is entirely on their own, forced to stand on their own intellectual feet. Afterwards, the mentor writes a candid, honest report detailing the child's strengths, weaknesses, and areas for improvement. This report isn't just tossed aside, it's carefully filed into a dedicated leather folder. Over the course of a decade, this folder accumulates, becoming a detailed, nuanced transcript of the child's intellectual and personal development, a record far richer, far more insightful than any standard prep school report card could ever hope to be. The network effect of this ritual is exponential. By the time they hit 18, these teenagers haven't just dined with a few interesting people, they've engaged in deep, challenging conversations with a dozen or more world-class minds. These are individuals who now know them, who respect their intellectual capacity, and who, crucially, will take their calls in the future. Old money doesn't waste time chasing fleeting social media influencers. Instead, they strategically, meticulously manufacture mentors, building a robust, invaluable network of wisdom and influence for their children.
As the day winds down in an old money household, the digital world is firmly shut off. Screens are surrendered without exception at 9 p.m. This isn't just about limiting screen time, it's about creating sacred space. The final 60 minutes before bed are spent in solitude, in quiet contemplation. During this reflection hour, the activities are deliberately analog: journaling, pouring thoughts onto paper, stargazing, connecting with the vastness of the universe, reading poetry, engaging with profound language, or any other activity that fosters introspection and calm. Parents don't just enforce this, they participate, or at least they monitor. Each Sunday, they collect the journals, not to pry into private thoughts, but to verify that pages have actually been filled. An empty journal signals a skipped reflection, and a skipped reflection often leads to revoked weekend privileges. It's a powerful incentive for self-discipline. This hour is essentially mental composting, taking the day's events, the interactions, the lessons learned, and processing them. It's about turning the raw experiences of life into rich topsoil for tomorrow's judgment, for clearer decisions, and for greater emotional resilience. A child who learns early on to process their anxieties, their frustrations, their triumphs, and their questions on paper is far less likely to process market losses with a cocaine habit at 25. This quiet, often overlooked ritual teaches the invaluable skill of self-regulation and emotional intelligence. In many ways, that hour of silence, that space for introspection, is perhaps the cheapest yet most effective therapy old money ever bought for its children. Forget the typical Sweet 16 parties with their elaborate decorations and DJ sets. For these teenagers, the Sweet 16 pitch is far more lucrative and infinitely more educational.
At this pivotal age, the teen isn't planning a party, they're preparing a 5-slide investment idea presentation. This isn't a school project, it's a real-world exercise, delivered to a panel of seasoned family advisors, often actual investment bankers, lawyers, or wealth managers. The dress code alone speaks volumes: a blazer, khakis, and absolutely no visible logos. It's about presenting oneself with quiet confidence, not flashy branding. They stand before this formidable panel, fielding incisive questions on PE ratios, macro risks, and exit strategies. There's no soft pedaling. They are treated as serious, budding investors. If the panel, after rigorous questioning, greenlights the idea, the family doesn't just offer praise, they seed the investment with a modest yet significant sum, typically around $10,000. The profits, if any, are split 50-50. Half goes into the teen's college fund, and the other half returns to the family office, teaching them about reinvestment and shared success. What about losses? They're absorbed by the family, cushioning the blow. But the transcript of the pitch, along with a note of the swing, whether positive or negative, is meticulously recorded. This isn't just a theoretical exercise. It's capitalism with training wheels, a safe but realistic environment to learn the harsh yet essential lessons of the market. The memory of that first win, the thrill of seeing their idea generate real returns, or the sting of that first loss, understanding what went wrong. These experiences profoundly shape every future allocation they make. By the time they reach 21, many of these young adults have already paid a significant portion of their tuition with their investment gains, or they've eaten humble pie in front of people who love them anyway, learning resilience and humility. It's a powerful initiation into the world of financial acumen. Now, if any of these rituals feel a little brutal, a little intense, remember this: they are, for the most part, entirely reproducible. You don't need a sprawling estate, a private jet, or even a yacht to teach a kid the profound power of compound interest. What you do need is a glass jar, a simple notebook, and a willingness to be consistent. If you're already taking notes, if your mind is buzzing with possibilities, go ahead and smash that like button. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Which of these rituals do you wish your parents had forced upon you? Which one are you thinking of trying with your own family? Don't be shy. And of course, subscribe for more videos that aim to decode wealth, legacy, and success without all the sugarcoating and unrealistic fantasies. Old money kids often wear uniforms to school, yes, but the uniform principle extends far beyond the school gates. It's a philosophy applied to life itself. Think classic, understated elegance: a navy blazer, well-tailored gray flannel trousers, polished brown loafers. Crucially, there's rarely any visible branding, no flashy logos screaming for attention. It's about cultivating anonymity. When you dress like everyone else in your carefully curated circle, when your attire doesn't scream for attention, you learn to signal power, influence, and status through far more subtle means, through your posture, your confident demeanor, the way you carry yourself, the substance of your conversation. It's not about what you wear, but how you wear you. This deliberate rejection of overt branding serves a dual purpose. Firstly, it erases the temptation and indeed the opportunity to flex on Instagram, to engage in the kind of ostentatious displays that often attract unwanted attention and superficial comparisons. Secondly, and perhaps more critically, it keeps the family's fortune safely away from the kind of ransom-sized kidnapping demands that can unfortunately be attracted by blatant shows of wealth. Simplicity, in this context, becomes a powerful form of camouflage. It allows wealth to quietly, steadily compound in peace, out of the spotlight, away from the prying eyes of those who might seek to exploit or envy. It's a lesson in strategic understatement, a core tenet of enduring legacy. Every winter, often during a quiet family gathering, a unique and rather uncomfortable ritual takes place. Each child, and indeed the parents too, must update a very specific one-page document. This isn't a list of accomplishments, it's a failure resume. On it, they must list the year's 3 biggest failures: personal, academic, or even entrepreneurial, and, crucially, the precise lesson extracted from each one. Then, in a moment of vulnerability and shared learning, everyone reads theirs aloud to the family. There's no blame, no judgment, no finger-pointing. The atmosphere is one of clinical analysis, only diagnostics. The implicit message, reinforced year after year, is profound. Mistakes are not sources of shame or embarrassment, they are simply data points. They are invaluable information. By adulthood, these individuals have accumulated a rich, personalized database of what not to do. This isn't just theoretical knowledge, it's hard-won wisdom, priceless when your family name is literally emblazoned on a skyscraper or when the decisions you make impact thousands of employees. Most middle-class families, understandably, tend to hide their failures, sweeping them under the rug, hoping they'll disappear. Old money, however, does the opposite. They meticulously archive them, turning setbacks into strategic assets for future success. It's a powerful framework for continuous improvement and resilience. Fluency in at least one second language isn't just a nice-to-have skill in these circles, it's compulsory. But the test of mastery isn't a written exam or a standardized score. It's intensely practical, deeply immersive. The real assessment comes when the child is dropped into a bustling street market in a foreign country, perhaps in the heart of Marrakesh or a small village in Tuscany. Their task? To negotiate the price of a basket of peaches or a handcrafted souvenir without being immediately spotted as a tourist. Their accent must pass what's informally known as the taxi driver test, meaning they can converse naturally enough that a local taxi driver doesn't immediately switch to English, indicating a genuine command of the language and its nuances. This isn't about rote memorization, it's about cultural fluency, understanding idiom, and the unspoken rhythms of communication. Multilingualism, for old money, isn't just a mark of sophistication. It's seen as a vital form of insurance. Insurance against geopolitical risk, allowing them to navigate complex international landscapes, and insurance against social gatekeeping, opening doors to exclusive circles and deeper relationships across cultures. Plus, let's be honest, nothing quite impresses a future father-in-law, or indeed any influential figure, like a 17-year-old who can effortlessly discuss Voltaire's philosophical contributions in perfect, nuanced French over a perfectly prepared boeuf bourguignon. It speaks volumes about their education, their exposure, and their capacity for global engagement. On random, unannounced days, a parent will hand the child a small sum, say $20, and issue a deceptively simple challenge. Double this by sunset, legally. This isn't about begging or exploiting anyone, it's about entrepreneurial creativity and resourcefulness. The methods are left entirely up to the child. They might buy a bag of lemons and sugar to set up a pop-up lemonade stand, learning about supply and demand on the fly. Or they could purchase a used book from a thrift store, research its value, and then flip it for a profit online or at a local consignment shop. The specific activity doesn't matter as much as the underlying principles. Here's the key. The profit margin is what's truly graded, not the absolute dollars earned. A 100% gain on $20 is considered a far greater achievement in this exercise than a mere 10% gain on $1,000. Why? Because the true currency being cultivated here is creativity, ingenuity, and the ability to spot and capitalize on opportunity. I heard a fantastic story about one young girl who, given her $20, bought a box of sidewalk chalk. She then proceeded to draw intricate, flawless hopscotch courts in a local park and charged other kids a quarter per play. By sunset, she had cleared $40, effectively doubling her initial investment. But what truly impressed her family was that she had also kept a meticulous spreadsheet tracking hop frequency by hour. That, my friends, is how you learn about demand curves, peak hours and basic market analysis long before you're even old enough to drive a car. It's street smarts meeting business acumen. At the significant milestone of 18, as they stand on the cusp of adulthood, each heir undertakes a deeply personal and forward-looking ritual. They write a letter. This isn't just any letter. It's addressed to their future 40-year-old self. In it, they articulate their aspirations, their values, and most importantly, the kind of head of family, or leader, or steward they intend to become. Once written, the letter is sealed, often with wax, and carefully placed in the family safe, alongside other precious documents and heirlooms. It remains there, untouched, for 2 decades. It's only opened at a special family gathering, usually a 20-year reunion, when the individual has truly entered the prime of their adult life. By then, fortunes may have boomed, or, conversely, they might have weathered significant storms and even cratered. Relationships may have flourished or frayed, but that letter serves as a powerful, unwavering reminder of the operating system that was so carefully installed in their youth. It acts as a North Star, a moral and ethical compass against the inevitable compromises and challenges of adult life can be measured. Most self-made moguls, looking back on their journeys, often express a wish that they had such a time capsule compass, a tangible connection to their younger, more idealistic selves. This ritual ensures that the core values, the foundational principles of stewardship and responsibility, are never truly forgotten, providing a consistent anchor in a constantly shifting world. So, these rituals, they're not magic scrolls whispered in hushed tones, are they? They're not secret incantations passed down through generations to conjure wealth out of thin air. No, there's something far more powerful, far more reproducible. They are disciplined reps in the gym of life. Old money stays rich, not just because it has money, but because it treats character, discipline, and responsibility like interest, compounding daily, quietly reinvested into the next generation. You know what's amazing? You can duplicate 80% of this blueprint right now in your own home. You don't need a trust fund or an ancestral estate. You just need some books, a few notebooks, and a kitchen timer. Why not start with that 30 minutes of silent reading tomorrow morning? Just try it. Let the rest grow, slowly, surely, like ivy on a brick wall, unassuming at first, but ultimately unstoppable. If this video has shifted your view on what true enduring wealth really is, if it's made you think beyond the superficial, please share it with someone who still thinks money is all about the size of the boat they can afford. Drop your favorite ritual below in the comments. I'm genuinely curious to hear what resonated most. Hit that subscribe button for more insights that peel back the layers of success. And always remember, fortunes may fade, but powerful habits, those quiet, consistent rituals, they outlive bank accounts every single time.